Yeah, baby, we're back!
Yes, we are. We are excited to be back.
That's
because
right.
We are here with a guest. Who is our guest, Alexis?
We got a Cubano from Jersey. We're finally outnumbering the Dominicans on this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you probably know him you might have known him from Miami FC. You might know him as one of the members of Cosmos B. You might know him from SoccerShape, which is how Christian knows him. Unless you're driving, put your hands together for Johnny Borrajo, everybody.
Johnny Borrajo, everybody. John, thanks so much for being on the show, man.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
It's very cool. And so just to sort that out, yeah, we met. So initially I actually met him at Kyle Martino's the street soccer,
yep.
the street FC thing that he
Was
did.
that when Aleko Iskandarian nutmeg you?
Yes, we.
Nice.
Okay.
He
held his own though.
Yeah.
He held his own
No,
first
he's not
time.
bad. He's not bad.
Very generous, I
Held
think.
his own.
But
Well, I remember right before, because I had somewhere to go. I think I had to run back up to ABC that day.
Yeah.
And you were like, should I go to the game? And I'm like, yeah, just go. And you're like, I don't know if I should go. I was like, just go. And then I found out you got nutmegged. I'm like, thank God he went. Because we get to bring this up
I
on
went
the show.
with the mentality like, oh, Kyle Martino's just posting stuff. I mean, it'll probably be like a lot of just like novice players who are just fans of like the Premier League.
Couple guys in suits.
Getting out of work or whatever,
Yeah.
still in their tap shoes.
Right.
But no, everyone who Kyle Martino only knows ballers
Yeah.
exclusively.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anybody that just can't do like an around the world like dribble thing
Yeah.
or whatever.
Everyone's pro except
Everyone's
you.
very, very good.
Yeah.
So I got there, and I was clearly the worst one on the field. Not to say that I'm the worst player ever, but I was clearly
On that day.
On that day,
Yeah.
I was the worst. And we were playing on we kept switching sort of
Yes.
teams and stuff, but I think we tended to be on the same team often.
Yeah.
And after we played that game, I was joking around on the show that everyone that I was playing with clearly knew I was the worst player, and they would make eye contact with me when they had the ball and be like, nah, not him.
No.
And then just pass it to
You
anyone
kind of
else.
tend to figure out. You kind of lose friends in these things
Yeah.
too, because then when you hand out the pennies for the game, you're like,
Yeah.
we're okay.
Yeah.
You sure you want to rest this one out?
Yeah. How about you just, I don't know, go do something else for the next few minutes while we play?
But it was a good introduction to all those guys, to you. I'm glad I got to meet you. But recently, and we'll talk about your career in a moment, but the reason I have known you better and I felt comfortable enough to ask you to do the show is because you teach a class called SoccerShape.
Yes.
I play in a league called NYC Footy. They had posted about it, and they were like, "Oh, there's a soccer training exercise class," and that is a thing I've always wanted to do. Johnny, I've only been playing soccer for legitimately like 3 years only.
Since we started this
Never
podcast.
really played before, like very, very casually.
Yeah.
And so clearly, I mean,
But you're a good athlete. I mean, you're a very good basketball player. So, like, you have an athletic basis. If I've played all the exact amount of games and times that you've played in those past 3 years, I don't think I'd be anywhere near the level you're at currently.
Oh, that's very look. We have to actually stop the show because Alexis just said something nice.
I want everyone to know my head hurts and smoke is coming out of my ears. But honestly, you are a very athletic person. So I don't want to be like, oh my God, 3 years. He went from walking with crutches to now.
I got up out of my wheelchair. I can walk again.
He threw the crutches. Why'd you have both, a wheelchair and crutches?
But that's how I've been hanging out with you, and you've been teaching this class. And what is SoccerShape? How did it come about? And what do you plan for it?
Okay. So SoccerShape first started in Miami. I had 2 teammates.
Just to prove he's Cuban, he had to start it in Miami.
Ya tú sabes.
Palomino.
So these 2 teammates of mine were friends first that became business partners. Soccer being a small world, I played with one of my business partners, Rhett, in Norway. We played together in Norwegian Premier League over there. And then another one, Mason Trafford, I played with in Maryland. So we had already known each other, and then I was kind of the link between Mason and Rhett.
Right.
The 3 of us being defenders, we already hung out a lot. And we wanted to start planning for after soccer, before the after part comes. And you're kind of like, oh, well, what are we going to do now? So we felt like there was this void in the fitness and wellness and soccer community where we wanted to just kind of mix the two, where you can have things that we do as professional athletes, and we've been fortunate enough to be playing professionally for, we're in our 2nd decade now. and been shown things from all over the world between Europe, the USA, Asia, different exercises. How can we bring that to just, the normal average Joe, or the highest of high, or the lowest of low? If you've never kicked a soccer ball before, how can we kind of mix the two?
I don't know why he looked at you when he said that.
So how can we mix the two and kind of build this community where it was non-judgmental and you could get a really great workout in and be supportive? And we started in Miami. We just said, all right, look, the hardest thing sometimes is just getting it going,
Right.
So we were like, okay, let's get it started. We had some events. People started coming to it, started loving it from, day one, which we were really happy and excited about.
For sure.
To be honest, the class is great, and it completely kicks my ass. The first class I took, I was just like, how do you... There's not enough oxygen in people's lungs to do this.
How do you do this? Is the question. Maybe you should, I don't know, make a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation that shows me how your body is able to handle
I need to take the pre-SoccerShape class I can take SoccerShape class.
Yeah. Is there a class called shitty SoccerShape that we could take?
I like that. So we said, okay, we want to make almost like a gym class for adults with a soccer twist. We're going to have this boot camp where you're going to do soccer-inspired movements, but you've never had to play before. So we are a fitness class first, and then we kind of integrate the ball. We'll do some soccer exercises. Because of the class that Christian comes to, we run it through, as he said, NYC Footy, which is so nice to give us that space down in the Lower East Side. It's footy fitness powered by SoccerShape. So you will get better at soccer. And
is it almost like like if you were on a professional team, like a training you would go through during the week, like practice?
So we have a boot camp style version where it's just more fitness. Then we have like a skills class, which the one that Christian comes to, where you will become better at playing soccer. We will try to help you as much as possible become better at soccer. And then we have
the class promises to make you the next Messi. I don't know why they promise that, but they do. I don't know.
That's pretty cool of them.
And then we have like an open play style where we have 30 minutes of the boot camp, and then we have 5v5 kind of round robin where we have this little tournament style.
Yeah, there is a nice little feeling like when you get to the field and you see like all the when you watch all the cones or the
that's it. That's all it takes. That's all it takes for me to feel like I've accomplished something is to see cones out. I don't need to run around.
You see the cones out and you're like, oh, I'm a professional soccer player. Yeah, I know.
Should I text Vieira? I don't know. I feel like I'm ready to go. I did one class.
But the exercises themselves are not any different than when when NYCFC or Rebels or anybody, they post like the training videos and stuff, and they're like, oh, I'm doing the same stuff that V is doing or BWP or whatever. So it's like
the other day I told him actually we completed a little bit of what France did to prepare for the World Cup. So I was like,
that's crazy.
So basically, I won the World Cup.
But I want you to know though. I wasn't like not doing anything. I was also doing I was probably doing at that moment what the fans did after they won the World Cup. You know what I mean? It's probably drinking and eating some cured meat. You know what I mean? We're doing what I do.
So it is. What's the website? SoccerShape.
SoccerShape.org. We
.org.
Yes. .org. Yes. .com. Hey, wherever you are, we're looking for you.
Yeah, please.
Come on, give that thing up already. He's not using it.
You ain't using it. That's what happened with us with just at the Cooligans.
That's right.
That guy posted like once.
Oh,
yeah,
like in 2012.
No, GoDaddy. Trying to get in touch with him.
Yeah, nothing.
If you're
so
out
we're
there.
at Soccer Cooligans and everything. But so what is your goal? Do you think this is something that can be a part of like Equinox gyms across the country, things like that, or like maybe making a video? Not a bad looking guy, you know?
No.
That's the Cuban genes right there.
Yeah, well, hold on. What kind of video you want to make?
We know exactly what I'm talking about. No, what I'm saying is, where do you think this can go? Because I remember a long time ago when I wanted to get better at soccer, there was a time in my life where I was playing a lot of basketball and a lot of soccer, and I'm not great at either of them, but I played soccer growing up. Yeah. I mean, some of those games were in jean shorts, so I'm not acting like I was great, but I played for a while, and I was like, my wife was getting on my ass about getting in shape, and I was like, all right. And I just posted on like Craigslist or somewhere. I'm like, are there any professional soccer players that want to train someone like to go through a soccer practice? Because when I used to play basketball, sometimes I'd play against someone who played for their high school team or for their grammar school team, and I'm like, how do you know to do that? And they're like, well, they teach you that at practice. Like, you stand here because of this, that. And those are the things I never learned because I only played on the street. So I was like, maybe someone who knows a little bit more about soccer could teach me better than the guy who was on parole that was our coach. Our guy, there was a parole officer with a shotgun standing behind this guy one game. Like, maybe we need someone else to show us how to play. And someone did respond back like, yeah, I guess I could run you through the practices we run through. So it's a great idea. It's an incredible idea. But where do you see a future?
So the beautiful thing about it is that soccer, for the most part, doing these kind of exercises will better prepare you for almost any other kind of sport or athletic thing that you do.
Sure.
You gain like this overall awareness of your body. He knows we do these things with some mini bands and the ladder and the 360 kind of degree movements.
Those goddamn mini bands.
We call it South Beach booty diet.
Yeah, you leave it a Kardashian booty.
Yeah.
Class.
So we pride ourselves on you will become an overall just better athlete. Okay, if you don't become the next Messi, that's okay. As long as you become just better at being, a bit more athletic. So maybe you'll become better for your tennis classes, better for your volleyball, basketball, whatever it may be.
Better in your love life.
There you go.
Well, you need a little stamina for
More
that.
stamina.
I think the Arnold Schwarzenegger jersey, super jacked up look is kind of in the past.
passe.
Now,
That's
now you just, want to look decently athletic and, happy days.
Cut ripped.
Yeah.
But in general,
Or in mine, squishy. You know what I mean? That's what,
Lovable, TLC.
I'm cool with that. I'm a better hugger than Christian. I'll give
but
you that.
in general, I always feel like, and we were, before you got here, we were talking about Sebastian Lletget, right? Sebastian Lletget is one of the most attractive human beings on the damn planet.
I can't even look him in the eyes.
But soccer players in general, with that build, that the body type or whatever, there is, and maybe this is maybe even a bigger question, but soccer players, I wouldn't say that they're vain necessarily. I'm sure some are.
Yeah.
But there is something different about soccer players compared to other sports where what you look like is a little bit a part of your identity, much more a part of your identity.
If somebody goes on trial and he just, this guy doesn't look the part, there's some guys that make a career out of being good looking.
Yeah.
Tall, 6'4", they're like, you know what? He's going to look up.
he's a good center back.
Adidas jersey, has some model type. He'll be all right.
Yeah.
Put him on the team. Good center back.
It's good marketing, right?
Yeah.
There. Boom. He's made a career out
That's
of it.
amazing. Yeah.
I should have been
mean,
a soccer player. I am gorgeous.
Cristiano Ronaldo, 2017, #1 athlete in the world.
Yeah.
Out of all sports, CrossFit, you name it. Blah, blah. Okay, freak specimen, takes care of himself.
Yeah.
Right.
But
But not a
soccer,
bad-looking guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jawline-wise.
They're-
Maybe what he's done in the past is up to question right now, but yeah.
So let's talk about your career, right? Because you're currently playing for New York Cosmos B. You were recently with Miami FC, and you won the spring and fall championship in 2016 and 17.
2017, yeah, spring and
Spring,
spring
right?
and fall.
So the last couple of weeks, I think since I started taking the class, I was like, oh, let me player. He's the player for Cosmo. Let me look him up or whatever. Let's watch some Johnny Borrajo YouTube videos. And got them. The highlight videos are there, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you
It
know.
even has the terrible European trance music. You even found a way.
So that's how you know it's an authentic professional soccer
You
player.
can't have. You're not a
You can't,
professional
yes, you're
if
right.
you don't have a highlight that has like
You're right.
German elevator music in it. That's it. You gotta have it.
You're right.
Yeah.
And I was watching you play, and I'm sure I've watched you play, but I didn't know you, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm watching the highlights, and I'm like, yo, John, you play right back. They call you El Capi, right? The captain of the team. And but the dude, you play with a real confidence, a real poise, that of a veteran, that of a leader, right? And you almost, I feel like you don't really see that many wingbacks as captains. Am I wrong? I don't know how many there tend to be. But I watched you, and the first thing I thought, I'm an Everton fan, and I'm like, damn, he reminds me of Seamus Coleman.
Yeah.
Right? Just a confident player, just like this is the identity
We'll run through a wall.
of the team. Great passer. How did you get to where you are? Because I know you did play in MLS as well.
Yeah.
But how did you get there? And how did you get to your playing style that you have?
I watched. So a thing that my college coach told me was be a student of the game. Was always a big thing. I liked watching.
Where'd you play in college, by the way?
George Mason
George Mason,
University.
okay.
Humbly saying, I actually just came back from a trip They just inducted me into the Hall of Fame down there.
Get out of
Congratulations,
town.
brother.
Thank you.
Cheers, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was honest. It was an honor. I mean, first college graduate in my family, so it was a big
That's
thing
huge.
to finish school. You know, I of course we want to turn professionally when we're younger, but it was big for my family for me to finish school. But off the serious note,
Yeah. Well, that's just how Cuban moms are. If not, you get hit with a chocolate. You gotta finish school.
or throw a remote
yeah,
chancleta.
remote. You interrupted the show too, and now it's on mute. And it broke it off your hard head.
So I went to George Mason University in Virginia, and you know, getting towards my senior year, you start having the conversations. Okay, you know, you're thinking about playing. You've thought about playing. What are the chances? You're on the bubble for MLS draft. Okay, you're gonna start speaking to some agents. Then an Englishman came up to me after my last game in college, and he's like, "I'd love for you to play for my team that's right down the road." And I was like, "Well, what? You know, okay, let's. You know, you're a college kid playing, you know."
Yeah.
And then you don't. You're like, "All right." So I went up to my coach because he coached for the Columbus Crew for 10 years before George Mason.
Yeah.
So luckily enough, he had all this experience with pros. Yeah. It ended up being a USL team that was just down the road from me called Real Maryland. And I was able to finish school. So I was playing in the morning, playing professionally in the morning, then I was a student by night. So that was my rookie season. I was really, the name of the coach was Anthony Hudson. He was the son of Alan Hudson, who was a big Chelsea and Stoke legend.
Yeah.
He actually was the youngest guy ever to get his, I think, UEFA like A license. Went on to coach just recently New Zealand and now he's coaching Colorado Rapids.
Yeah.
So you know, things come full
Sure.
circle. Yeah,
It's a small world, right? The soccer world.
yes, very, very, very small. So then from there, was fortunate enough to play with a Norwegian defender whose agents were in the stands, you know, one summer when they came to a game. And there's a saying, you know, you never know who's watching. They approached me after a game and said, "Have you ever thought about playing in Europe?" Through my father, I have a Spanish passport. And they were like, you know, "We'd love to bring you on trial to, you know, Norway." And I was like, "Norway? What? No? People play soccer there?"
More like, no way. I'm staying right here. It's warm.
I was always, you know, my dream was to play in Spain. I always wanted to play in Spain, but Spain is obviously one of the most difficult countries to play in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And everyone always says, "Well, estamos en crisis, we're in crisis, then we don't have the money." So
It's like 55% unemployment rate. This guy's trying to get a job there.
So went on a couple trials, different clubs, ended up going to Norway through these agents. Played in Norway for 3 years.
You played for a team called HamCam?
Humcum.
Humcum. All right, I saw Ham.
that.
And you know me.
If you look at the full name, I'd give you credit if
He
you can
was
pronounce
salivating.
it.
I did pull it up because I was like, Hamon?
Humcum.
Yeah. Cámara de Hamon?
Yeah, I was
But
the
it
tannest
was like-
person in town. Don't
It's
worry.
like yeah, I'm not even.
Humcum, yeah.
I don't
it's
even know
long.
do they have vowels in these countries?
I had to learn. So now I vaguely know Norwegian, which is
Really?
like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
in LinkedIn when you go Spanish, you know, very
Yeah.
okay.
Sure, yeah, it's on there.
English, yeah, proficient in Norwegian. They're like,
Okay.
Really?
Okay. Maybe they'll come in handy.
There's a there's a curveball coming at you.
But you did play in MLS. You got to
yeah.
play with
So
the
after Norway, speaking of small world, the sporting director and the coach of my Norwegian team played on the Norwegian national team with Eric Soler, who was the sporting director of the Red Bulls.
Right.
Was coming off, fortunately enough for me, a good season in Norway. They had spoke, and you know, I came and they were like, "Oh, we'd love to bring you back home." Happy days, let's go.
Yeah.
So sure enough, I signed for the Red Bulls in 2012. The Norwegian coach was always, he really wanted me to stay. I was like a project for him. You know, 24 years old is an important time in your career.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you have the opportunity to play with Thierry Henry, Rafa Marquez, you're like,
Exactly.
you know, this is hard to pass up. So sure enough, I came home and signed for New York, and didn't get to play as much as, you know, as expected. And you know, usually the question is, did you regret that? You know, did you regret coming home? Should you have stayed in Norway? Should you have stayed in Europe? Did you come back home too soon? I say no, because of the things that I was shown in this different light of thinking and professionalism and just how to win from Thierry and Rafa was unbelievable.
Was that Thierry Henry's first year?
No, might have been his second or he came in the summer, so maybe like
Okay.
2.5.
Yeah, the
He
first
came in
full
maybe
season.
2000. Yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah.
maybe the second full season.
Okay, cool.
He came to half a year, played a full season, and then I got him on, I guess, 2.5. Yeah, a year and a half in.
That's incredible.
Was this the first time in your career where you weren't sort of the starter?
First time in my career, yes, where I had to deal with this. Where then the line, being a student of the game,
Right.
and learn how to be a good teammate, was super challenging for me because I was the captain of almost all the clubs growing up that I played for. Captain in college, never because I was the best player on the team, but leadership skills, through either my father personalities, just traits that I, from players that I played with growing up, and, to sit on the bench and just, or sometimes not even on the 18, what do I have to do, what's going on? And
is it one of those things where, like, the better you are in training, the better the opportunity? Do you know who you were sort of fighting with for the starting
so
position?
at the time, Jan Gunnar Soli, Norwegian international, was.
Is that the guy who DJ'd?
Oh, he got a lot of steam for that. He got thrown off a game and then.
I never heard the story.
This guy he
got again.
Well, I know there's two stories, right? He DJ'd like the night before and he wasn't supposed to for one time, but I think he got injured.
He got sent off.
He got sent off.
I think he got a red card.
But then he came back and he DJ'd the halftime, like on the field.
But
like
you
they
have to
had
think from a European standpoint. You're like, if you're a European player, you're thinking this is a circus.
Yeah, of course.
What's going on here? You're a professional. You are literally a part of this team, and now you're DJing at halftime.
So I think he got thrown out of the game. I wasn't a Rebel fan, but I'm a Thierry Henry fan. I'm an Arsenal fan. So I remember wait, isn't that the guy who just got kicked out of the game? So the name Soli sticks in my head because I'm like, that guy just got kicked out, and now he's like on a moving platform DJ. But I can't explain to you. There was like a thing that was like moving around the stage. Maybe it wasn't moving. Maybe they brought it out and I watched it. But nonetheless, he's on an elevated platform that's like decorated for him to DJ. Like he's like whatever Skrillex or something. Like he's like a world famous DJ. The guy I feel like if you get a red card, you shouldn't be allowed to DJ either. I feel like
he's actually doing like a Dancing with the Stars Norwegian style right now.
Is he really?
Yeah, not surprised.
Yeah. Even if he gets a red card, he's like, I'm still coming back.
So he was very experienced at the time. Had played Champions League level.
Was the coach Hans Baca at the
team
time?
was extremely. I mean, it was. If you were a young player, it was almost impossible to break in. I mean, there was Swedish internationals, Norwegian internationals, Mexican, Costa Rican, French, U.S.
Yeah.
It was I don't know where the salary. I don't know how they got this other salary cap. And then Kenny Cooper was scoring 18 goals that season. For the younger strikers, Thierry Henry and a guy who's scoring there's no chance.
Yeah.
So what could we do in training then? Have to be a good teammate. The harder we train, the harder we push the first team guys. So that, as a young player, is difficult to see. But luckily enough, I had good guys around me.
There is value in that. It's just hard to, if you're not getting out there.
Because if you don't always put in a good effort, a good training session, what was told to me back then was, make sure when and if you leave this club that nobody could ever say a bad thing about you. So that if you're extremely professional every day, when somebody calls them and they ask about you, they say, you know what? This guy was in a difficult situation. He came here every day, great attitude, put in the work. And also what was told to me, if it's not going to be here, it's going to be somewhere else that you're getting better prepared for. So luckily enough for me, I had good guys around me.
That's good advice.
They were able to help with that. And it helped me now as an older player when players were in that situation. I was able to better help them from, like they say, you can't teach speed and you can't teach experience.
No, you can't.
Those are, you could get quicker, but speed, it's kind of something you're.
I mean, but in general, these are good life lessons, right?
Yeah,
and it's not a coincidence why you captain so many teams, because you lead with that mentality, and that's how you think of yourself as a professional, right?
Yes.
Has running SoccerShape made you interested in coaching?
So I'll fast forward to the rest of the career.
Because you've seen the talent that I bring, and you kind of just
I'm
a leader of men.
So from there, I went to San Antonio, 2014, won NASL 2014 Soccer Bowl, I believe it was what it was called.
Which I believe I watched. It was televised. I believe I
Yes.
watched that. Yeah.
Yep.
HEB was on the back of the jersey at that
Yep,
time.
it was. Yeah, we played against Fort Lauderdale Strikers in the finals. Basically, you have to beat the New York Cosmos, or else you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Then in 2016, then I moved to the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. I had torn my ACL actually in the off season that year.
Ouch.
Which brings me to the coaching. You never know how you're going to come back from a big injury. So with the time that I was off from soccer, I went and I did my coaching licenses.
Oh, that's great.
So I did my B license in 2015 to better prepare for after if the knee wasn't going to work after.
Right.
And luckily enough, I had an unbelievable, doctor in physical therapy. I did surgery January 12th. I came back and played professionally in 6 months, by summer, July.
That's huge.
Jeez, what are you, Adrian Peterson? Jeez, that's
Good
amazing.
God.
It's 5.5 months training.
Just horse placenta? Just dipping your foot?
So came back, did that, got to the semifinals, lost to Cosmos with Fort Lauderdale. Then Miami FC came around. Got a phone call from Alessandro Nesta's staff, and I said, well, this sounds like a good opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
And, one of the best decisions, I made to definitely jump on board with that project to learn from, one of the best defenders ever.
And I mean, really the main thing we want to ask about, especially about your time at Miami FC, you played with Poku.
Kwadwo
Poku.
Kwadwo Poku. Who's kind of like a cult.
He was a cult hero for
Cult hero in
NYCFC in New York, and he had a great first year. Obviously, the second year wasn't as successful.
But when he came in, he scored worldies, and we're like, why is this guy not playing? Clearly something was going on in the training.
He was the same in Atlanta. So I played against him when he was at Atlanta.
Silverbacks.
Yes, at
Silverbacks, yeah.
I played when I was at San Antonio. I played against him, and Atlanta wasn't very good, but there was just this wrecking ball throughout. Like he'd pick the ball up on the 18 and then just, and they were like, "What? Who is this guy?"
And what was it like to play with him?
He's in Russia right now. He's playing for Anji Mahachkala.
Not anymore. Now he's at Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Oh, all right, back in the U.S.
Look at that.
Back in the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
too cold.
I'm sure.
It's Ghanaian. Come on, that's a hard
He's
transition.
like, the temperature's allowed to go below 70. I think I'm gonna go home.
What was it like playing with him? And just about your time at Miami FC and your you played, especially during a time when now NASL we don't know what's going on. What was it like playing with him, and then what state the league is in now?
Poku came at we could not win a game our first season. You have to think it was in a completely European group of gentlemen who worked at the highest of levels. Yeah, and naively. Basically, clubs in this country, they have open tryouts where you got to pay $100 to come try out for the professional soccer team, which is unheard of in Europe. So they did this in the U.S. This Miami FC. We ended up signing eight or 11 guys from this tryout for the full professional team. I don't think 8 guys have in the history of U.S. soccer ever signed
from all of the open training.
All of the open trainings that have happened in probably the 20-something years this country has been. Never have ever. We signed 8 to 11. I don't know, around there.
It's like going to an open mic for the first time and they're like, "You got a Netflix special.
You're on Netflix, kid.
Get on here."
And good contracts too, because I don't know if you heard Miami salaries.
Yeah, Miami was paying money.
Money. Yes. So. I get to preseason myself and 5 other.
You didn't go through the open trials. You got
So I get there for preseason. There's only
you're like,
5,
who are these accountants?
There's 5 signed guys. And I get there, and I'm like, I look at my business partner, a teammate, Rhett, and I'm like, buddy, what did we sign up for? I was like, I thought we were gonna play for Alessandro Nesta, and I'm like, we're in big trouble. So. Anyway, Poku was a part of the regime that came in the summer and just completely changed and helped us out big time. So,
which was a big move for those who don't remember.
Yeah,
Miami FC bought him from NYCFC for
big money,
$700,000, I think. Was it?
Yeah.
And we heard rumblings that he got a cut of that.
Well, think about it. He went from making 60,000, whatever he was making in the MLS to. I'm not sure what his deal was in Miami, but I would imagine if he got bought for 700 and something, he was probably making some decent cash.
Yeah, which is how it was weird to us to see you drop to the lower division and make more money. Like that's when we knew, like, all right, we don't really understand what's happening in NASL right now.
Yeah. So I think I want to say that maybe MLS can have a larger roster because they have a bigger budget. So maybe MLS has 14, or I don't know, let's call it 18.
Yeah.
Solid players. You know, there's no drop off after 18. Maybe NASL is 1 through 14.
Right.
And then USL is, I don't know, 1 to 5.
Okay.
Right.
Around there. If maybe I'm wrong, different, you know, it's a game of
opinion. Just a good range. It's a good way to understand
It's a game of opinions, right?
Yeah.
So, Miami FC was very much not like that. Miami FC signed 24 starters. And they wanted to create competition from within because that would raise the overall level. And that's how it was.
It's very European.
It was very European, cutthroat. It was, you know, Nesta would say, there's 11, there's 18, and then there's the guys like this in the stands. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
And it was a way he wanted us to bleed, to fight. Show him that you want the shirt, that you want the jersey, that you want to be a part of the 11, and if not the 11, the 18. So back to kind of Thierry, Nesta had the same mentality where it was just they would do whatever they had to do to win. And that goes to show you why they spent so much money in the summer with him and Richie Ryan and Michael Lahoud that we signed.
Right.
And Poku came in, and he was phenomenal. He was the X factor for us. He was able to hold the ball, receive the ball, take on things he did with NYCFC, but now he was playing the whole game. Right. So instead of just the glimpses that you saw at NYCFC, we saw a bit more of because he was afforded more time. So he was phenomenal for us. He was a great acquisition. And, you know, Nesta was hard on him. You know, he expected a lot of him. He was very, but he was hard on everybody. There was a bar to be met, and as soon as you met that bar, he put another one, then another one, then another one.
Yeah.
And you kind of were like, where
does this end?
Where does this end?
Yeah.
But he was, so to Miami in general, and NASL, to touch on NASL and the situation, he wanted to leave an imprint. He wanted to have an identity, a style, something different. Let's show this country a beautiful way of playing soccer.
Right.
Let's show this country that no matter where you go, who you play against, we're going to play the exact same way. We're going to play our brand of soccer, and we're not going to change because we're on turf or we're playing against Dallas in the heat or Houston in the summer. No, it doesn't matter. We are going to play Alessandro Nesta's style of football, no matter where we play. Very stubborn.
Yeah.
You could call him, hard-headed Italian.
Right.
But
which, as a Cuban, you understand fully anyway.
Sure.
So
also, hard-headed Italian is pretty redundant.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we heard you say Italian.
Old school, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
When it clicked, it was unbelievable to see just 80% possession. Just 1-0 wasn't enough. 2-0 wasn't enough. He wanted to embarrass other teams. We wanted to win 7-0. I swear he would come in and say, I need 5 more.
Well, as a guy who played for Red Bulls and somebody wanted to win 7-0, it just
as
doesn't hurt
NYCFC fans,
it hurts
our heart.
It hurts to hear that.
That was the score you had to pull up.
It's a touchdown.
Of all numbers, you could say.
You could have pulled anyone out.
Yeah.
So the league itself, NASL, we don't know where it currently stands and
I don't
what's
think
going to
anyone
happen.
does.
So it's interesting as fans of soccer, and we'll watch occasionally.
Yeah.
What is, from the player perspective of like, am I going to have a job next year? Because I don't know if there's going to be the office is going to be the building is going to be here anymore.
Yeah.
What is that like?
And you also have an owner that's made a lot of news.
Of course.
Yeah.
There was NASL was a great home, a great space for experienced players, I think. There wasn't a lot of rookies in our league. There was veteran players who were you could make a living from your salary. What I mean by make a living, and this is something to go back to Nesta, for you to be an absolute professional in your job, in your soccer career, he was like, I cannot pay you $50,000, $60,000 because you cannot do what I want you to do with that type of salary. I need you to sleep well. I need you to eat well. I need you to relax in your home life. I need you to be able to take out your girlfriend, boyfriend, sister, cousin, wife, kids, go out to dinner, have a good time, get a hotel, go to Magic Kingdom, go to Disney, whatever you need to do in your off life to be better prepared for the field.
Right.
I do not care what you do outside the field, as long as you are 110% ready to be everything I need you to be.
Right. You need to be
field.
paid enough to relieve all the other stress.
Health insurance doesn't exist in, like the USL or a lot of these USL teams.
The lower leagues, yeah.
And in the NASL, you were fully covered. If you got hit by a car, you were covered. If in these other kind of systems, God forbid something happens to you off the field, it's all the best. You're on your own. So NASL was this space where for experienced players and hundreds of players, front office, coaches, staff, fans. More importantly, now all these fans are like, well, what ship kind of do I have to jump to, or because what are you gonna do? We're in this kind of waiting period, and I could understand for a fan, it's frustrating. If you're a New York Cosmos fan right now and you're a diehard, you're kind of in the dark. The same thing for a Miami FC fan. Now Beckham's team's coming into town. Do you just jump ship and start, supporting Miami, Beckham,
Grupo Internacional?
Yeah. Inter Milan, and you don't kind of, everyone's kind of like in this, I don't know period, and there's not, much information ever given to us as players. We see what's on Twitter. Twitter is like, whatever's on Twitter, you're like, oh, all right.
Okay,
That's where we're at now.
I guess I'm going into work tomorrow.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, NASL's another lawsuit. Okay, all right. Well, that'll be another couple of months. It's sad. It's sad to see that that U.S. soccer or whatever, the system, whatever, isn't creating the space for all these players. And then naturally what happens is supply and demand. There's a ton of players.
Right.
So now you can get a super, quality player for very cheap.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's business. It's a business. You're given a budget. And if you can sign, Christian Blanco for instead of
$7 a year.
Instead of
$749,000. I mean, that's my
or
rate.
a Chipotle gift card.
You can now get him for a Chipotle gift card.
I'm willing to negotiate.
You're like, I feel like there's a lot of room here for maybe a change.
And some guys have 2 kids, a wife, or family, and mouths to feed, and you're like, wow, all right, this is my way of making money.
Yeah.
And some of these guys can literally bag groceries probably now in New York for minimum wage, $15 an hour, and make more money than some of the contracts they're on. So that's the stage where you're at.
Yeah.
Like myself, does it make sense to continue playing soccer for, this,
pennies,
literally, and put my body and my life on the line? And I have the scars to prove it. It's not and what's the point? At the end of the day, it's just doing something. It's a hobby. You're prolonging kind of your life, and it just becomes, okay, I'm just going to play.
Yeah.
Because it's not a living. To go back to that, you're not making a living. You're not making something where you can survive or have a family survive on. So the NASL was a space, I believed. It provided this type of living for a lot of experienced guys.
Yeah.
So it's sad to see. Hopefully they can, whatever they're gonna build, or whatever kind of structure, if it's through USL or NPSL Pro or whatever league they're gonna kind of try and create.
And from the player perspective, who played in NASL, what is, I guess the easy question is just like, what was your perception of the possibility, or if it ever happens, of promotion relegation? Is that a thing that the lower league players even thinking about? Because, or is it just like, I'm just trying to go to work?
It seems like Miami FC was like an experiment in saying like, look, it should be allowed because look how great we are.
Yes, and we did that when we showed, we embarrassed Orlando at home. Okay. Then Atlanta United at home, Poku, big goal in the 90-something minute. And goes to show you, Michael Lahoud was called into his national team from Miami FC.
Right.
Poku was called up to the Ghanaian national team from Miami FC. Poku got a move to the Russian Premier League from, Miami FC. So credit to European soccer and, the national teams, where they were like, doesn't matter what level they're at. If it's good soccer and he's in good form, let's bring him on.
Yeah.
So credit to them. Promotion relegation in this country, I was fortunate enough in Norway to experience it firsthand. My team, when I first went, was in the second league, and we got promoted up. It was the most unbelievable experience of my life.
It must have been an incredible feeling.
Must have been insane.
My father, my family flew out, and it was like the town was shut down, flares, parties. It was but the goosebumps after the game to just everyone slide on the grass and cheer with the fans. It's so much more than just the game. It's so much more to these fans. When you celebrate with them, it was unbelievable how thankful they were. Thank you for getting our team back to where it was, back to where we belong. Because HamKam was one of the most historic clubs in Norway. Unbelievable stadium. I remember when I first got there, I was like, this has to be it. I remember when I was going on trial, he was like, you have 48 hours to convince me. He goes, I've been coaching soccer and playing soccer for 40 years. He picked me up from the train, the coach. He's like, you have 48 hours to convince me. I was like, jeez, all right, tough crowd. So after the first training session.
You're like, starting right now? How long is the ride?
After the first training session, comes up to me and he goes, you're staying. I was like, oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
21-year-old kid, I was like, okay, let's do it. He's like, yeah, if we can make everything, if we can figure everything out upstairs. And I was like, upstairs? I was like, he's like, yeah, financially. I was like, dude, I'm coming from the USL.
I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever you
What you got in your pocket?
Yeah. So
you got a couch? I'm good.
So back to the experiencing promotion relegation. Another little quick side story. I was able to go to an Arsenal game with Thierry, Sol Campbell, and Tim Cahill, Heath Pierce, Dax McCarty. We all were super fortunate enough that Thierry invited us to a game when we were out in London versus Tottenham. It was a huge derby game. Tottenham was winning, I think, Arsenal was winning 4-2. It's like the 60th minute, and Thierry's kind of just, it's a kind of circular, stadium. We're kind of in the corner by the corner flag. The whole crowd just turns towards Thierry, and it's just like, Thierry Henry. Yeah. And getting louder and louder until, he kind of waved his hand at everyone. And then he stood up, stands up, and the crowd is just like, this roar. And you're like, oh my, this is insane. This is it's so much more. Then
this is why I said we should add 60,000 seats to pizza places so that when I walk in, and people see me, and they're like, there's only one Alex Guerrero. One Alex Guerrero.
I mean, they're not going to stand because they're too big.
No, they're like, my knees.
It would be beautiful, to have that here. Just for the fans. For the fans.
Yeah.
For the fans, it would be, okay, for soccer, for us, of course. But for the fans, for them to experience that, I think it would be unbelievable. Will it ever come? That's...
And from a practical place, do you think it won't happen because even NASL or USL, just the lower leagues don't have
the infrastructure,
the sustainability to be promoted or for an MLS team to be relegated?
Or is there to part of the infrastructure? Is there a way for what Silva was the owner of?
Yeah.
Is there a way for the Silvas and the Roccos to? Are there more of them, or is there a way for them to make the money back they're spending on these teams?
These guys are owners. You want owners like them. They are literally spending millions of dollars happily.
Yeah.
This is their passion. They're going to lose the money regardless. So might as well, taxes. So might as well lose it in a way that you're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's what I said through Miami FC, and I thanked him, when I left. He was an unbelievable owner. He gave us everything that we needed to do to be successful on the field. That's all you can ask for as a player. We had everything.
But is there a way where that could sustain itself? Because it hasn't in the past. The Cosmos were part of the issue when it was the original NASL. Mm-hmm. Then Miami FC and Cosmos and other teams in the new NASL. And then what was the guy Richmond or Richardson, the guy who was running it, was kind of all over the place. Is there a way for that to survive? If there isn't going to be promotion and relegation, is there a way where maybe some of these lower division can merge on their own and create a competitor league? Is that similar to the question you were asking?
Yeah, no, more
infrastructure, I think.
Yeah, not a league to compete, because that can't be the purpose, right? Like they just renamed the divisions, right? So it's obviously MLS, then USL Championship, and then USL 2 and 3, you know, whatever. So
I wonder where they got that from.
I know, right?
Yeah. League 1, League 2, League 3.
But is it like, it seems like the competitive aspect of like having an NASL is what is causing the issues with U.S. soccer to begin with, because they're like, we can't come to terms on what's fair for all of us.
Yeah.
So we're gonna like keep you out of this, and we're gonna figure this out on our own. Because I think based on seeing this league standards and them being renamed, it feels like promotion relegation is a thing that they're at least thinking about. That might, and they're trying to set it up, but not with NASL in mind.
I think just their ideas are just so different. Like, I get it. MLS, you've spent a lot of money, you know, and the founding owners, they put in a lot, and I get it. It's a business.
Yeah,
I understand. Especially now that I've been doing this for so long, it's very much a business.
Yeah.
And that's I want to say like the ugly side of soccer that I've never enjoyed. The game, the most beautiful thing in the world, but the business side, it's terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
The NASL, example, MLS, all right? You sign a contract. I think this was just happening now with a player from Jacksonville. He had played for the Red Bulls in 2008, 9, or 10, goalkeeper. They still had his rights in 2018.
Yeah.
Like, no, let him go wherever he wants to sign. What are you talking about? You have his rights. What rights? He's been playing in 6 other clubs. It's literally 8 years later.
Yeah.
What?
It's like an ex-girlfriend 8 girlfriends ago being like,
stop
yo, you really gonna go? You gonna go to Italy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You can't date other lawyers. You're stuck. If you're gonna date a lawyer, it's got to be me. Yeah, then you can date anyone else you want. Yeah.
I actually, after I was finishing up Miami FC, contract ended down there. Before I signed with Cosmos, was looking at MLS options. I actually had to speak with my agent and ask, because I saw that happen. I go, well, maybe Red Bull still has my rights. I was like, could that be a thing? He's like, I don't know. We should look into it.
You checking for tattoos? Do I have anything on me? Is there something on my back, maybe?
Stop it. Like, you sign a 4-year deal with the club. Well, as soon as you're done,
and move on.
Thank you for your services.
Yeah.
You know, off you go.
It's a big union issue that they've discussed. I've seen kind of discussions like that, especially when they were trying to elect a new U.S. soccer president. That was like one of the issues that the Players Council was concerned about.
So there's like those differences in the players' freedom, but there's also, in the league and how they would like to create, and the owners, I think it's the ownership. The details, I'm not really sure. I would love to see promotion relegation in this country. I would love for there to be a space for all these NASL clubs, USL clubs. There's plenty of people in this country.
Yeah.
Like, they make fun of us overseas that we can't get our, stuff in order over here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How can we not have a competitive national team when we have?
Hey, bro.
We've all said this. Go ahead, preach.
Yeah.
We were just talking about population. You know, I've said it. I'm half Uruguayan.
Yeah.
Uruguay has 3.5 million people. New York City has 8.5. That just the city. Like, how is this? Iceland. Iceland is what they say, Wichita? Iceland is the size of Wichita? Like, come on now.
Look, I'm training at SoccerShape, and I think the U.S. national team has a lot to look forward to.
Buddy, left back, you might have a chance. The only option for left back right now is, again, 77 years old, DeMarcus Beasley.
How can we better prepare for 8 years from now?
Yeah.
You know, Carlos Cordero, everybody, the big guns. How can we better prepare so that 8 years from now, when people come over here, they're like, I know what, they got a good setup over here. They're, grassroots, women's soccer, and professionally. You know, how can we not be a laughing stock in 8 years when people come here like, oh, these guys still haven't gotten it together? Because a World Cup, like they say in, winter's coming. Well, the World Cup is coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, think about it. It's been, 32 years since the last one in 94 to 2026. It's like, let's prove that.
Exactly. There has to be growth.
Yeah. And it's a huge thing. I still remember my father took me 1994. It's,
Giant Stadium?
Yes.
Yeah, what
So
game?
I saw against Bulgaria.
Oh, okay.
Norway
I saw
Bulgaria or
Ireland,
something.
Italy.
Okay.
That was wild.
Okay.
All right. I didn't
All right,
go.
well-
I didn't go to it because I didn't watch soccer then.
But maybe SoccerShape, you know?
That's right. Yeah. Look, all I'm saying is that I will be the starting striker in the 2026 World Cup. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying that SoccerShape will help me do.
Also, and if you want your next class to be a little bit more relaxed, the night before, I'll take Johnny. We'll go to Rudd's Hut. We'll get some hot dogs. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll go to Dickie D's in Newark. I'll weigh him down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Cool.
I'll do what I do best.
Johnny Borrajo, thank you so much for coming by, man. I didn't even look. We wanted to have a little chat, but it got a lot more serious than I expected. But it was a great conversation. This is awesome. Thank you for imparting some wisdom just in general about American soccer. It's incredibly helpful, and I know a lot of our listeners appreciate it. So, Johnny Borrajo, we're gonna end our show. We usually do a fun little outro every time we end the show, and it's basically all it is that we just yell the Cooligans,
and you'll know when.
You'll know exactly how it works, but we're gonna do the outro right now, so it'll all make sense to you.
So join in when you'll know
exactly what it is. So, guys, for Johnny Borrajo, my name is Christian Polanco.
My name is Alexis Guerreros.
And together, what are we?
The Cooligans!
What's up? It's the world champion, Judah Friedlander, and you're watching the Cooligans. Why? Because you're cool. This is what winners look like right here, man.
I mean, you're looking at us.
Right now with my legs, I just juggled the ball 80,000 times.
You missed it.
Yeah.
He's been playing keepy uppy since I met him.
Yep, look faster, guys.
Go Team USA.